Pray to Sri Ramakrishna for the welfare of the whole humanity. Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic is the way to bliss. How Sri Ramakrishna has taught us the way to bliss. They are all well recorded in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. All the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna are well written. Bliss means the supreme joy. That is called bliss. When you get the maximum happiness, everlasting happiness, that is called bliss. People, no doubt, are getting some kind of joy in the world. People are joyful in earning more and more money. People are joyful in making properties. There are so many ways. People are joyful in sports. Some people find joy in climbing the mountain. There was one young guy here in Chicago. He was studying medical school. He had completed. For some period of time, he was free. The idea came to him that he should go for mountain climbing in India. That is Himalayas. He went there, took training, because the Nepalis, they have got teaching personnel. So they will teach and then they will show the technique to climb the mountain. And this boy selected a mountain. There are so many mountains are there in the Himalayan range of different heights. And It's not easy, first of all. And one has to rise by climbing the rope. There are so many ways. If you see the pictures in TV, you will know how difficult it is and how dangerous also. Well, this boy was finding joy in doing such adventurous things. So there are so many types of joys in the world, and people really, they are able to sustain the life on account of some kind of joy they are getting in this world, in this life. But then, all the joy, whatever the people find in the world, they are not comparable at all to the spiritual joy. The sum total of all the joys in the world will not equal even to 1% of the spiritual joy. So, that's the difference, the gulf of difference. And here, in the joy which the people generally experience in the world, will not be there forever. Many times people get frustrated because they are not able to get more joy. Many times they get disappointed. All sorts of things do happen. Anyway, these are the things that attract the persons, the people. The mind is just drawn towards the joys of the world. But then they are not really happy. Somehow they drag the life on. And Sri Ramakrishna here clarifies very clearly, as long as the mind is sitting or hankering after the joys of the world, it is rather very difficult to get the glimpse of spiritual joy. So, the joy in the world makes a man worldly. The joy of getting money, the joy of getting name and fame, the joy of getting power, position. So that means he is firmly fixed into this world, and he feels that whatever things are to be achieved are to be done here. So he doesn't believe what would happen after he dies. That question doesn't arise. He doesn't even think about that. He doesn't even think that he will die one day. They keep on becoming more and more worldly, more and more worldly. Even after retirement, they become more worldly than they were before. At least when they were quite young, they would devote part of time for devotional practices. But when they become retired, they feel the whole time is with them, so they indulge in all sorts of things which make them more worldly than before. Anyway, Sri Ramakrishna puts it in one phrase. What is worldliness? It is lust and gold. That's all. So all the types of worldliness are just included in this lust and gold. So, what are the things that control the mind? That we have to understand. Bhagavad Gita tells about three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. These gunas, they control the man. The man is under the control of these gunas. He is just dancing to the tune of these three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. It is excellent to know about the play of these gunas. And Sri Ramakrishna compares these gunas to three robbers. They are robbers. So you have to be aware of them. As long as sattva exists, it calls on rajas for help. And rajas can get help from tamas. The three gunas are so many robbers. Tamas kills and rajas binds. Sattva, no doubt, releases man from his bondage, but even sattva cannot take him to God. It cannot take him to God. But it shows him the way. And Sri Ramakrishna is very emphatic in pointing out what is really bondage. Lust and gold is a cause of bondage. What is samsara? Lust and gold alone constitute samsara. That is the world. It is lust and gold that keeps one from serving God. You won't feel like turning towards God or doing any devotional practices because the mind is totally attracted towards lust and gold. And to demonstrate this, Sri Ramakrishna holds the towel in front of his face and asks the devotee, "Do you see my face anymore?" Of course not. The towel hides it. No sooner is the covering of lust and gold removed than one attains Chidananda, consciousness and bliss. Chidananda means consciousness and bliss. Chit means consciousness, Ananda means bliss. So, we have to understand this very clearly, where we are and what we should do. Everything depends on that. So Sri Ramakrishna has defined clearly who are worldly people, who are spiritual oriented people. Worldly people, they keep themselves engrossed in what? In the joy of sensuous objects. Through worship, on the other hand, the devotees receive the grace of God. And then God's vision comes to them. Then they enjoy Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman. Once they get the joy, they never go after the worldly joys anymore. They don't want them, and mind doesn't slip down, doesn't go seeking those worldly joys. And again Sri Ramakrishna tells, one cannot see God unless Maya steps aside from the door. And he gives the example, Ram, Lakshman, Sita, they were walking in the woods Sri Ramachandra was in front, Sita walked in the middle, and Lakshman followed them. But Lakshman could not see Rama because Sita was between them. In like manner, man cannot see God because Maya is between them. But Maya steps aside from the door when God shows His grace to the devotee. Herein comes the importance of grace, God's grace. Somehow you must try to acquire God's grace. Once you become recipient of God's grace, then you will see how Maya just steps away, steps down. It clears the way. And Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a visitor. A security is standing in front of the door all the time. Suppose if somebody wants to meet the master of the home, he comes at the door and immediately the security will ask the master, "Sir, please command us, then we shall let him pass." He takes the permission of the master. If master says, "Allow him," the visitor is allowed. Then again explaining Brahman, Sri Ramakrishna tells, like the Akasha, the infinite space, Brahman is without any modification. It is free from modifications. But then it has become manifold because of Shakti. Because of Shakti. Again, Brahman is like fire, which itself has no color. The fire appears white if you throw white substance into it. It becomes red if you throw red. It becomes black if you throw a black substance. The three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, they belong to Shakti alone. Brahman itself is beyond the three gunas, Trigunatita. What Brahman is cannot be described. It is beyond words. It is a thing to be experienced, and once a person experiences that, he is in samadhi. He enjoys tremendous bliss. So that which remains after everything is eliminated by the Vedantic process of neti, neti, not this, and which is of the nature of bliss, is Brahman. Brahman means bliss. It is always associated with bliss. Never, even for a moment, think that Brahman is dry. No. It is full of bliss. That's why people hanker after that. That's why Swami Vivekananda requested Sri Ramakrishna to allow him to be in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, to allow him to go and spend time meditation in Himalayas. He just loved to meditate. Within few seconds, he totally lost all outward consciousness and absorbed in that tremendous joy of Brahman. Once in Belur Math, Swami Vivekananda and Girish Chandra Ghosh, a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, both were sitting in meditation for some time. Under a tree, the tree is still there. Anybody going to Belur Math can see that. It's a famous tree. It has got great things associated with it. Many Swamis meditated on that place. After some time, Girish Chandra Ghosh could not sit. He opened his eyes and wanted to see what Swami Vivekananda was doing. But Swami Vivekananda was sitting straight and face totally serene and peaceful, and but then he saw the whole body was covered. Swamiji's whole body was covered as if by a black rug. What is that? His body was covered by mosquitoes. Thousands of mosquitoes are punching his body. Still Vivekananda was not aware. Still his body was not shaken. That was stunning to Girish Chandra Ghosh. He could not believe, what is this? Can a person meditate like that? He is a master yogi. That's why Sri Ramakrishna Math describes Vivekananda as Yatiraja. Yatiraja. The king among the monks. Control means 100% control. So, he knew by his experience, and he did not want to come down from that blissful state. So he requested Sri Ramakrishna to allow him to be in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you have come here with a special mission. After doing that, then you will certainly go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But now, you have got a mission. You have to make known the glory of Vedas, the nature of Atman. You must give this Vedantic truth to everyone in this world. People are ignorant and suffering. So, you have to work for the humanity. Sri Ramakrishna gives a story. There was a certain person, he had two sons. Both were very bright. And he sent them to study under a teacher. And these boys went. That was a practice in olden days when they are quite young. You can say they are kids. They were sent to the teacher so that they can learn something about the spiritual ideas, knowledge of Brahman. After a few years, both the sons returned from their teacher's home. And they bowed low before their parents. And father was very happy to see their sons back home after the tuition with the teacher. He wanted to measure the depth of their knowledge of Brahman. What they have understood by Brahman. Of course, the father himself was a very great Rishi. He knew what Brahman is, that it cannot be described in words, it can only be experienced, and it is an experience of tremendous bliss. So he questioned first the elder one of the two. Well, my child, you have studied all the scriptures under the teacher. You have stayed with the Guru for so many years. Now tell me, what's the nature of Brahman? What have you learned? Immediately the boy began to explain. He recited various quotes from the scriptures, from the Upanishads. The father did not say anything, he just kept silent. After this boy finished his answer, the father asked the second one, the younger one, well, you tell me, what is your definition of Brahman? The boy heard it very clearly. He looked at the father and then he remained silent and stood with eyes cast down. No word escaped his lips. The father was immensely pleased and said to the boy, my child, you have understood a little of Brahman. Little of Brahman. So what it is cannot be expressed in words. So, this is the bliss which Sri Ramakrishna wanted, that all the spiritual aspirants must aspire for. And it is possible to experience that bliss in this world, provided your mind is not running after the joy of the world. On the other hand, it turns towards the joy of God. See, I had seen one of our Ramakrishna monks in Haridwar. I had gone there. It was so surprising for me to see one Swami, whole day, every day, months and years, his whole life, morning to evening, he will be just spending time in worshipping God in his room. And I asked about the Swami with others. They said, yes, the Swami is like that. He loves to worship and keeps on worshipping. And I saw his face, tremendous peace on his face, and joyful expression, extremely polite. The kindness was overflowing through his face. The kindness, the love and affection were overflowing. And that austere life means simpler, very, very simple life. He never wanted anything, even in his room also. Nothing except a cot to sleep, that's all. Nothing else was there. His whole area was covered by articles of worship. Day and night he would worship and worship and worship. Archana. And he was getting tremendous joy. That's called Bhajanananda. Bhajana means worship. And I had seen another person, a very great, that is during my college days, I had gone to my parents' home, and there, nearby our home, there was a temple, Sri Rama temple, a very good temple, nice temple, 5 minutes walk. And we would go there very frequently. Whenever I go to the temple, I always see a person singing about Rama. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, with symbol. He is not looking anybody. And he is not looking anybody, and he's just, probably he may be looking the pathway, otherwise he will stumble. He was making the pradakshina of the temple. Inside there was a place to go round. just outskirts of the temple. He would just keep on moving like that. All the time, repeating, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Even now I remember his face very well. I was so happy to see. Look at that person. He is not aware of people going, coming. He is not aware of anything. But afterwards, I don't know what happened to that person. Probably he might have the vision. He might have the vision of Sri Ramachandra. Quite possible. I saw his face, tears were flowing in torrents. Joy, tears of joy. Ram, Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Symbol, this is big symbol, not ordinary, not simple one. Big one, dub, dub. Big sound it gives. And that place was noted for Akhanda Ram Japa. That is the Brahma Chaitanya Mandir. Brahma Chaitanya is a very famous saint. Gondavali in Maharashtra. Very famous saint. That temple is associated with him. In fact, they had a small statue of Brahma Chaitanya. He was a great devotee of Rama. And just he was Akhanda Japa, he was completely doing. So, that's the thing. Where do you find any parallel for this spiritual joy? It's not possible. So, we must aspire. If you are really aspiring for happiness, aspire for the bliss of God. And your aspiration is fulfilled only when you turn away from the worldly things and take active interest, positive interest in spiritual practice. Be very sincere and determined in your practices. Determination is very important to expect any progress in spiritual life. So, this is the way of introduction I have given today. The same topic I will continue next Tuesday. Page 653. Sri Ramakrishna said to Mahima, you explain Om with reference to A, U, Ma only. Mahima said, A, U, A, U and M mean creation, preservation and destruction. Sri Ramakrishna said, but I give the illustration of the sound of a gong, tam, and the casual merge in the great cause. But I give the illustration of the sound of a gong, tom, T-O-M. It is the merging of the Leela in the Nitya, the gross, the subtle, and the causal merge in the great cause, waking, dream, and deep sleep. Merge in Turiya. The striking of the gong is like the falling of a heavy weight into a big ocean. Waves begin to rise. The relative rises from the absolute, the causal, subtle, and gross bodies appear out of the great cause. From Turiya emerge the states of deep sleep, dream, and waking. These waves, arising from the great ocean, merge again in the great ocean, from the absolute to the relative, and from the relative to the absolute. Therefore, I give the illustration of the gong's sound, tom. I have clearly perceived all these things. it has been revealed to me that there exists an ocean of consciousness without limit. From it comes all things of the relative plane, and in it they merge again. Millions of Brahmandas, millions of Brahmandas rise in that Chidakasha and merge in it again. All this has been revealed to me. I don't know much about what your books say. Mahima said, those to whom such things were revealed did not write the scriptures. They were wrapped in their own experiences. When would they write? One needs a somewhat calculating mind to write. Others learned these things from the seers and wrote the books. Master said, worldly people ask why one does not get rid of attachment to lust and gold. That attachment disappears after the realization of God. If a man once tastes the bliss of Brahman, then his mind no longer runs after the enjoyment of sense pleasures or wealth or name and fame. If the moth once sees the light, it no longer goes into the darkness. Some friends said to Ravan, you have been assuming different forms for Sita. Why don't you go to her in the form of Rama? Ravan replied, when I contemplate Rama, even the position of Brahma appears insignificant to me, not to speak of the company of another man's wife. How could I take the form of Rama for such a purpose? All worship and spiritual discipline are directed to one end alone, namely, to get rid of worldly attachment. The more you meditate on God, the less you will be attached to the trifling things of the world. The more you love the lotus feet of God, the less you will crave the things of the world or pay heed to creature comforts. You look on another man's wife as your mother and regard your own wife as your companion in spiritual life. You will get rid of your bestial desires and acquire godly qualities. You will be totally unattached to the world. Though you may still have to live in the world, you will live as a Jivan Mukta. The disciples of Sri Chaitanya lived as householders in a spirit of detachment. You may quote thousands of arguments from Vedanta philosophy to a true lover of God and try to explain the world as a dream, but you can't shake his devotion to God. In spite of all your efforts, he will come back to his devotion. A man born with an element of Shiva becomes a Jnani. His mind is always inclined to the feeling that the world is unreal and Brahman alone is real. But when a man is born with an element of Vishnu, he develops ecstatic love of God. That love can never be destroyed. It may wane a little now and then when he indulges in philosophical reasoning, but it ultimately returns to him increased 1,000-fold. One more thing I wanted to tell about the topic of today, the way to bliss. One incident I want to tell, which, the great Acharya, Sri Ramanujacharya, very great, realized saint like Shankara. One day he was coming towards the temple, Parthasarathi temple. I have seen the temple in the Kanjivaram. And he would talk to God every day. one day he was coming, on the way he saw a man totally involved. His whole attention was on a woman with whom he was going. He was totally involved. I mean, he was not aware of anything happening around him. His whole being was involved in looking about that woman and talking with her in all possible ways and etc. Ramanuja saw that. He felt highly sympathetic. Well, see how that is the quality of the holy people. Ahetu kripa sindhu. There's just the ocean of compassion. There's no reason for them. They simply go and show their grace. And here Ramanacharya, when he saw that, those young boy and girl going like that, Ramanacharya approached them. To their surprise, they were totally worldly, and here the saint is going towards them and talking very affectionately. Well, both of you are involving yourself so much in love talks and things. You are doing all these things just to have some kind of happiness, is it not? Come, I will show you. I will take you to a place where you will have more happiness than what happiness you are having here. That was a news to them. How can it be possible? They thought that was the highest happiness. The youthful boy and the youthful girl. But Ramanacharya is telling, I will give you, I will show you, come on. He took them to the temple. Of course, Sri Ramanacharya's grace is there. And when they were taken there, they saw Parthasarathi, Lord Krishna, beautiful form. When they saw it, all the impurities, the impure form of love, etc., they were all just taken out from their mind. From that moment onwards, they become staunch devotees of Sri Ramanuja. Staunch. From that time onwards, they became totally spiritual, not half and half. Totally. Of course, if you read Ramanuja's life, it's a very nice. Ramakrishna Math has written the life of Sri Ramanujacharya. It is available in our bookstore, in our library also. Please read that. How nicely this incident comes there. Afterwards, their joy was different. Up to that point, they had worldly joy. From this point onwards, they are enjoying spiritual joy. And they are always joyful. There is no frustration at all. So that I wanted to tell that incident. Any discussion or observation, Mr. Yeah. Does it come in Valmiki Ramayana? Is it? Valmiki Ramayana written by whom? That is Madras publication, huh? Madras, the big volumes, 2 volumes are there. Because I have not read that particular episode, I have not read. The whole Valmiki Ramayana with translation, verse by verse, it is in the internet. I was so joyful to see that. I have put it under favorites. Anything you want, do you want Ayodhya Kanda, you want Aranya Kanda, click, it will come. Stanza by stanza, they have done excellent English. They have taken how much? It's amazing Whole Ramayana is there. Valmiki Ramayana. Like that Bhagavad Gita also is there in the internet. Any chapter you want, click, it will come. 18 chapters with meaning. Very good. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its curve to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.